Thanks for stopping by at Twisted Art Designs. Today's daily art journaling is going to be really fun. What I did for my prep was just to paint my book pages. I'm working in a book still. To paint my book pages just with a really, really deep midnight blue. And I let it be splotchy. I don't care about that because some of it's going to get covered up. So that's my base. And I'm going to use this as part of my focal. This came in some happy mail. So I want to say thank you and a shout out to Sabine in Austria for sending me some really fun and cool images to use. So this is going to be my focal. And I want this to be a mermaid page. And what I'm going to use is some images from coloring books. I like to draw and paint, and I could do it myself on here, but just to make this a quick and easy fun video, I'm choosing to use coloring book images. So I have these three coloring books that I purchased probably on either eBay or Amazon at some point. I have had them for a couple years, but they're probably still available. And I'm going to use the tail from this image. This particular coloring book, Mythical Mermaids, has duplicates of everything so that you can color it twice. I don't know why they do that, but they do. So I pulled that one out, and I'm just going to use the tail. I'm going to trim this out and keep this mermaid for something else at a later date. And on this one, I'm just going to use the hair. I'm actually going to trim this out and trim the face out. And I'm just going to cut out the hair. And I'm going to color both of them. I cut out my images, fussy cut out my images. And what I want to do with her is to put her kind of a little up high. And I want to put this headpiece around her face like this. Kind of coming around her shoulder. And then there was extra hair that was over here that would be off the page, so I cut that, and I'm going to put it over here, coming out this side like it's floating in the water, like that. And then the tail, I've cut the tail out, and I'm going to put the tail right in here along like this. And then I'm going to do a wave across this like she's coming out of a wave, so I need to work on that next. And I realize that not everybody has these coloring book images, but you can find free images, clip art images on the internet that you could print out, or you could purchase coloring books if you find them, and or you can draw it yourself. You can draw it if you feel like drawing it. For my wave, I'm going to take 2 pieces of pattern paper. This is like scrapbooking paper, and I'm going to put them face to face like this, and then I'm going to just take a pencil and sketch out some rolling waves like this. Hopefully you can see that. And then with the 2 pieces of paper together, I'm going to take my scissors and cut that out. So holding the 2 pages together as tightly as I can, I'm just cutting out that wave image. Kind of fussy cutting it out as best I can. Trying to do it all in one cut, and I'll show you why. Okay, so now when you undo it, you have waves going 2 different ways. See? And then this piece that you cut out at the top, you have more waves. So it gives you waves to put any way you want and lay them across each other to make it look like waves coming up out of the water. So now what I'm going to do is Mod Podge all my images into place where I want them. First thing I'm going to put down is the tail because it goes behind other things. Then I'm going to put down the girl because she's going to come over this image a little bit. Then the hair here. Actually, before that hair, I need to get my waves in place and then put the hair over the top. It's kind of like laying it out strategically, and this will be the last thing because it's going to come across the tail. So I'm going to get those into place and then I'll show you what it looks like. So I've put down a layer of Mod Podge and then I put my image down. And I'm just going to smooth it into place. I got a little extra over here that I didn't need, but that's all right. Okay, so that's what it looks like when you Mod Podge it into place. And now I'm going to go ahead and lay out and put on those other images as I showed you before. Here's what my waves look like glued down, and I did a strip. I just tore a strip to do the bottom part of the wave. I love how this is coming out. It's exactly what I had envisioned. The places that I had to cut off along the edge, I took and repurposed and glued into place so that I was able to use those images in it. And now what I'm going to do, I want to color most of this with Caran d'Ache Neo Color 2 crayons, but I am going to take some acrylic paint just for the initial part of it. And what I want to do, I'm going to just take some, this is called Sea Breeze. It's just kind of a light teal. And I want to make sure that this is tied in so that this doesn't look like it's standing out from the image behind it. So I'm going to make some, just some simple strategic hair strokes, brush strokes in acrylic paint here and there to make this look like it's part of it and cohesive. So like right here, it needs some paint. And what I'll do is I'll just do a brush stroke over her hair, like it's just her hair coming over to her shoulders and it's covering that spot to just tie it in. And then the rest of it I'm going to do in Caran d'Ache. So this will just be an initial, acrylic paint is thicker, so that's why I'm doing this. I'm just going to make a couple hair strokes here and there. See how that's already pulling it together with that acrylic paint over the edge of the paper in some spots. So I like how that looks, and I'm going to just do a little tiny bit more of that in a few places just to make it really flow. And then the rest we'll do Neo Color. That looks good. I like that. Okay, so I'm going to play around with that a little bit more, but you can get the basic idea that adding some acrylic paint over the edges and making some hair strokes here and there are just going to tie that in together. And then I'll show you what I'm going to do with the Neo Colors. Caran d'Ache Neo Color 2 crayons are water soluble, so what I do with those is to take a water brush and the colors that I want to use. And I basically, you can use these lots of different ways. You can color directly on your coloring book page and blend it out with water, or to me you get a smoother application if you take your brush and you tip it right off the crayon and then you come in here and apply the color, and it's nice and smooth, and it's almost kind of like applying a creamy version of a watercolor, almost like a maybe even a gouache would look. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to paint this whole image. I'm not going to do that on camera because it's going to take a while, and for the sake of this video they take a couple hours, well actually 6 to 9 hours to upload, so I want to keep it as short as possible. So I'm going to go ahead and color this whole image in, and then I'll come back and show, I'm going to take some colored pencil and do a bunch of shading too. So I'm going to show a little bit of that, and then I want to show you what I have planned for the title that's going to go on the page, that's going to make where this whole concept idea came from. For the screen on the tail, I used Prisma Premier brush pens, and it is alcohol ink, so it would be the same technically as like Copic markers, and that's what I used to put down that base color on the green tail. And alcohol ink works great over Mod Podge, so you can use that. Now I'm using a Faber-Castell Pitt Artist pen, and I'm coming back in and I'm putting in some shadows. And Faber-Castell Pitt pens are water reactive, so if you want to, while the ink is still wet, if you want to blend it out, you can do that. That's what I like about those. You can't do that with alcohol ink, but the Faber-Castell Pitt pens, you can blend those out until it's dry. Then once it's dry, it's going to be more permanent. But it's nice for just making some interesting shadows and making this tail look a little bit more realistic. So that's what I'm doing with that. I thought I would just show that. And that's what it looks like up close. And you could do that with the Caran d'Ache as well, but I just thought for the brightness, I wanted something really, really bright for the tail, the lime green in the tail. I'm sorry my voice is a little bit hoarse. I've got allergies. The weeds and stuff are really getting to me, so I've got some allergies going on, and it makes me sound a little hoarse. But I'm not sick, guys. I'm good. I'm just a little hoarse. So that's shading with Faber-Castell and using alcohol ink. For the coral in her hair, I'm using saffron, and what I'm doing is just going in here and doing this in kind of a dotting kind of motion. I'm going down the whole thing, just dotting in that coral, because I'm trying to go for the texture of the coral. You know, coral is very rough. So see how I'm just dotting that in, and then with the water in it, it'll kind of spread itself out, but it'll lend itself to having shadows cast and look more like coral. So I just thought I would show that I'm going in a painterly fashion and kind of dotting in this saffron color to do the coral. So I'm almost done with my coloring. Here's what it looks like up close, and that is with Faber-Castell Pitt pens, Caran d'Ache Neo Color 2 crayons, Prismacolor alcohol markers, Posca pens, and now I'm using some Spectrum Noir Sparkle. This is Spectrum Noir Sparkle ink. And everywhere there was a dot, I think they either meant those to be pearls or bubbles, either way. But I want to make them sparkle, so I'm going to add some of this gorgeous glitter ink on all those dots everywhere. That's just going to make it pop. I colored the dots blue, like they're maybe bubbles, instead of white for pearls, but you could do it any way you want to if you have this coloring book. This glitter is just gorgeous. I love this glitter ink. I'm going to put a little bit in the tail just for some highlights. I like glitter. Let's see if you can see that. See those glitter spots? Okay, so now I'm ready. I did go back in with a black Posca pen and I changed up her eyes just a little bit. And I'm going to take some colored pencil and do some coloring with colored pencil too, so I'm going to show you that real quick. First I'm going to let this glitter ink dry so I don't smear it. Her skin is greenish cast, so I'm going to go back in with a little bit more green. I'm using a Luminance, Caran d'Ache Luminance pencil here, and it's in a vermilion green. And I'm going to just go in here and do some shading under her neck. I'm adding more of a green cast to her skin. So I'm going to do some of her facial highlights. The places that I'd normally highlight on a face. I'm going to just make them a little bit more green. Because she's got green tone in her skin because she's a mermaid. But I just want to bring this out a little bit more. It's very pale. I love colored pencils. This will look really nice adding some more color to it. So that's just adding a more green cast. A little place under her lip, a little bit under her nose. Yeah, I like it much better now that it's got a little more green to it. And her shoulders. I'll make that wave pop a little more too. I like this green. It's pretty. And I'm going to add a little bit of color to her lips. Like that, and now I'm going to take my Posca pen and do a highlight on her nose. Oops. And a little highlight on her lip. And a highlight in her eye. Oh yeah, I like that. And a little bit down here. I love it. It really made her face pop. Looks pretty. Okay, so now I'm ready to do my word on the page, my words. And I'm going to do a little bit of pencil in her hair, just a little bit. It's kind of just probably doesn't need it, but just smoothing out some of those colored areas and blending it a little bit. And then adding some strokes down here so that it's tying it all together. That's just me. I like to play. I'm never satisfied. I keep adding and adding and adding. Okay, here's the completed layout. When you feel like sinking, swim. That's my word that I wanted. That's my thought for doing this page. Was when you feel like sinking, swim. Right now there's a lot of people that are having a really hard time with what's going on, and there's parents that aren't used to homeschooling their kids or working from home, trying to figure out how to do a job from home so that they can continue to get their paychecks. This is a tribute to the doctors and nurses who are working endless hours to try to take care of the people that are sick. They're running low on supplies, and they're also getting sick themselves. So I'm sure a lot of people feel down, defeated, so I would just wanted to bring that message of when you feel like you're sinking, swim. So that's my page today in my quarantine journal, and I hope you enjoyed this and it inspired you to do a page as well. And don't forget to give thanks for the doctors and nurses and all the people that are helping to try to eradicate this disastrous disease that's ravaging the world. My friends in other countries, UK is on lockdown now, where they're not even allowed to leave their homes. It's pretty bad. So let's keep playing together and enjoying our time working in our art journals, and that'll keep us sane, and it will be fun, and it brings some enlightenment to the situation. So when you feel like sinking, don't forget to swim. I did go back and add some more green to her body that matches the tail. I added some more things to her face. I did put in some eyelashes and some more highlights. And I added some pen work to her hair with my Tombow monoline drawing pen. I went back in and added hair strokes in, and that really tied in this part of the hair with this part of the hair. I like it a lot. I love the green on her face. It's much greener, and it just tied it in. And then I did take my Posca pens that are glitter, and this one is an orange, and I went in and dotted in some sparkle orange to the coral. I like to go back in and add little touches. So I hope you enjoyed how this layout came out. I'm really happy with it. It was a lot of fun. Again, thank you for Sabine for the image to use, and we'll be back again tomorrow for another layout.